1,642. Since the beginning of the 119th House of Representatives, they have introduced more than 1,642 pieces of legislation. Hi, my name's Ruth Ann Parker, and today is February 27, 2025. Going back a little. My goal is to help you know and understand what is happening in the House of Representatives. I know most people don't enjoy reading thousands of pages of legislation, so I'm doing it for you. Let's get started. Let's see, we're going to start with H.R. 21 to amend Title 18 U.S. Code to prohibit a healthcare practitioner from failing to exercise the proper degree of care in the case of a child who survives an abortion or an attempted abortion. This is brought to us by Ann Wagner, who is a Republican out of Missouri. Missouri. If during or after an attempted abortion, a live human being comes out of a person, the doctor must treat that live human just as they would any other live human. I believe they all agreed to that when they took their Hippocratic oath, so I don't know why we need a bill for this. If the doctor doesn't do this, they're subject to criminal penalties, a fine, up to 5 years in prison, or both. Same with the employees who have knowledge of a doctor committing such a crime without reporting it. An individual who intentionally kills or attempts to kill a child born alive is subject to prosecution for murder. What a novel idea. Can't believe there wasn't a law against this already. Okay. The bill bars the criminal prosecution of a mother of a child born alive under this bill, so she can bring civil action against the healthcare practitioner and I'm guessing it's opening the doors for other injured parties to sue as well. The bill passed the House 217 to 203. So next I want to talk about H.R. 568, the Auto Theft Prevention Act. This was brought to us by Mikey Sherrill, who's a Democrat out of New Jersey. It's to provide funding to state and local law enforcement agencies to combat auto theft and stolen automobile trafficking. So it's for purchasing equipment, vehicles, and license plate readers, funding subscription fees and data storage fees for the license plate readers, hiring additional law enforcement and support staff, funding overtime costs, providing training, providing resources for joint task forces, funding data collection, data storage, and research activities, funding for the administrative costs of applying for and implementing the grant up to the maximum of 5% of the grant amount. So it's specifically for auto theft. Why are we trying to micromanage law enforcement? Shouldn't we just support law enforcement in the way that each one needs it? Are we really going to continue with this piecemeal thing? Like, are we going to give them money specifically for preventing murder? Specifically to prevent home invasions? Why don't we just support law enforcement? This makes no sense to me. Okay, so the next one is House Resolution 27. Expressing opposition to Central Business District tolling program of New York City, or in other words, congestion pricing, which I guess has already gone into effect. This was brought to us by Nick LaLota, Republican out of New York. And my understanding's pros are to reduce traffic, improve air quality, and fund public transit. So they're trying to push for more public transportation. The cons that I've found is it hurts low-income drivers, displaces the congestion, so more people are driving outside the city than inside the city. Administration is complex. The possibility of less foot traffic for local businesses. That's what I found as far as pros and cons. With that said, I thought this administration was about allowing the states more power to govern themselves. I don't think the federal government should stick their nose in what New York is doing because we're supposed to be letting them govern themselves. I want to talk about something that has already passed. H.R. 471, Fix Our Forests Act. It was brought to us by Republican out of Arkansas, Bruce Westerman, to expedite under the National Environment Policy Act of 1969 and improve forest management activities on national forest system lands, on public lands under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Land Management, and on tribal lands to return resilience to overgrown, fire-prone forested lands and for other purposes. It's probably something they've wanted to do for years, but haven't had the funding. And recently they lost 800 jobs. So we'll understand the need for this bill. We understand the need for what this bill brings. The arguments against it aren't because they disagree for what the bill wants to have happen. Representative Jared Huffman from California objected because we need to fund them and make sure they have the staffing if we're going to actually require these things to be done. Also, it undermines some of the environmental protection laws that are in place, which comes to our fundamental disagreements about climate change. And Representative Donald, I'm going to say Bayer undermines the Endangered Species Act, which of course is another part of the environmental protections, and it places profits over science. Those were his arguments. It passed the House 279 to 141. Okay, next I want to talk about H.R. 30, Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. So this was brought to us by a Republican out of South Carolina, Nancy Mace. A non-U.S. national is inadmissible if they've admitted to or convicted of stalking, child abuse, child neglect, child abandonment, sex offense, conspiracy to commit a sex offense, a violation of certain protection orders, or domestic violence, including physical or sexual abuse, or a partner of coercive behavior. Next, the bill establishes additional grounds for deportation, which is domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, any sex offense, including crimes against minors, or conspiracy to commit a sex offense. The bill also expands the domestic violence crimes that make a pattern. I lost my place. The bill also expands the domestic violence crimes that make a non-U.S. national deportable to include physical or sexual abuse or a pattern of coercive behavior when it occurs to a certain close relationships. Okay, so these already make someone inadmissible and or deportable under current law. After reading several defense attorney pages about this specific topic, I see this bill adds no extra protection. It is yet another waste of time, writing, reading, arguing, voting, a waste of money on ink and paper. If they are going to bring bills, they should do more real research and bring something effective rather than this garbage. But I digress. The House passed it 274 to 145. H.R. 27, to amend the Controlled Substances Act with respect to the scheduling of fentanyl, of related substances, and for other purposes. I hate "and for other purposes." That opens it up to adding more things to the bill that have absolutely nothing to do with the bill. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's also called the Halt Fentanyl Act. So it's brought to us by H. Morgan Griffith, who is a Republican out of Virginia. It will take fentanyl from being a Schedule II drug to being a Schedule I drug. I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I know that one is more severe than the other, but as far as the technicalities, I'm not sure. So I had to go looking for the argument given to explain why 108 people voted against the bill. Because to me, I didn't see why. So, essentially, the argument is that this bill doesn't do anything. It looks like the House is working towards getting rid of fentanyl, but they aren't addressing the real problems. So, taking funds, recently we had some funding problems, and we're still having some funding arguments. And so taking the funds from treatment centers, defunding Medicaid, limiting funds to law enforcement, etc., is the real problem here. The bill is just a big old waste of time and money. If we don't fund those things, just changing the scheduling of the bill of the drug is not going to make any differences. So it passed the House 312 to 108. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. At some point, we have to decide that the addiction to opioids is far worse than the help it gives. Doctors need to stop prescribing them so people don't get addicted and then need to find street drugs to feed that addiction. We need to stop creating more addicts. If there's no one to buy the product, there's no need to sell the product. Let me know what you think about any of these bills, and please hit the like, subscribe, share this video. I know that most people would rather poke themselves in the eye with a blunt object than spend hours reading legislation. So please help me get this information out to as many people as possible. Thank you, and have a great day.